All right. Awesome. Hey, thanks everyone for joining us for the first official Topherspin Meteorites video hangout. Really glad the crew is on board, and we're going to jump right into it. We actually have Roberto Vargas going to tell us his new score. So, Roberto, take it away.
Hey guys, so I just got 3 gram of the green Martian, the lurzolitic or poikilitic shergottite, and I got like a 2 gram fine grained eucrite. Both of them came from Sean Cachet. They're really great. I'm actually in the process of taking pictures. That's why I'm not. There's no face to this chat. I'm a faceless person today.
we can't see your wonderful beard. So
Right.
the Martian you're talking about, and I'd like to discuss this a little bit. So it's weird. Every Martian that I've heard of in the past has always been shergottite, noctilite, and oh my God. Thank you. Now all of a sudden we have a subtype, maybe not all of a sudden, but it's coming to my knowledge, that we have a subtype of shergottite that is a lurzolitic shergottite. And now people are calling it a poikilitic as well.
Yeah, poikilitic. I've also heard of it as like ultramafic, and there's a lot of terms floating around in terms of this new one. But it's also like NWA 1950 was around back in the day, and it was similar. They're saying that it's probably paired. So I've heard some people say that it's probably paired. I also know that at one point, Big Bang Meteorites, Ben H, had a Martian that looked very similar. I'm not sure if it was poikilitic or, yeah, that's it. Yep. Yep. Mine's not as big, but that's okay. I've got plenty of shergottite, so I just figured I just want it represented in the collection.
You can feel free to continue with your story rather than just staring at your name. I figured we give everyone viewing and watching the replay who may not know exactly what we're talking about. This is a lurzolitic shergottite. That's how I have it labeled. I may go back and relabel it poikilitic, but this is what we're talking about. The original one was NWA 1950. So this is the one that is being classified and possibly paired to it right now that Roberto is talking about.
Yeah, so I'm I'm really happy to have it in the collection. It's a 3 gram end cut, so it's going in my a chondrite box.
Nice.
So Roberto, actually something interesting. If Topher, do you have the camera set to Roberto now?
But Roberto doesn't have a camera on right now.
Oh, who has the? Oh, that's your. Oh, sorry. Is that your second account that has the?
Yeah,
the video?
yeah. I'm double dipping. It's my.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that was Roberto. So if you can keep the camera back on that second account, there's actually something cool that I noticed on that poikilitic shergottite, because I got the thin section back for one of them I sent in about 8 weeks ago, and so
just for reference, the person talking right now is Daniel Sheikh. He was the geochemistry PhD student that was our guest speaker 2 weeks ago about classifying meteorites. He is a meteorite classifier. So I'm really interested to hear any information you have on this one.
So a little here. Let me quickly go to that. Do you have the video pinned so I could see it?
You can click on it and it'll go to full screen.
Oh, perfect. Let me do that then. There we go. Okay, so on that video that you have right now, the poikilitic shergottite, there's actually 2 different lithologies. So there's 2 different textures. So the main texture that gives it the name poikilitic, that's where you see those large green clasts per se. Though that is mostly orthopyroxene dominated. So you have these large grains of orthopyroxene that enclose smaller grains of olivine and smaller grains of chromite, so 2 other minerals you find. Whereas the other texture you see, where you see all this dark material scattered throughout that isn't touching the greenish clasts, that's more of that's what we call a non-poikilitic texture. So in there you have, for example, larger amounts of olivine present. You can get high calcium pyroxene, and you can actually get mascalinite. So when feldspar gets shocked, you can actually see mascalinite appear. So it's 2 different textures, even though the overall name of it we call poikilitic shergottite, but there's a complex history to it. So that's why the term poikilitic and lertzolytic is sort of debated right now. But poikilitic is the textural term, just saying that there's multiple textures. So,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Daniel, how much, I don't know if you're allowed to say, but how much TKW are you submitting with that?
Well, there's many, yeah.
I know that like a lot of people have pieces of it, and I don't know if it's gonna end up with like 8 different numbers all coming from Algeria with a TKW of like 26 grams here, 2 kilos here, 50 grams there, like.
Yeah. So there's already, I think there's already 1 or 2 of these that might be approved right now. I'm not sure if Carl Agee and Tony Irving both have something that they recently classified that's basically the same material. I'm not entirely sure on that, but from what I do know in terms of all the different samples going around, there probably will be multiple NWA numbers. I don't see there being just one. I think from one collector, I've got the 20-gram type specimen. He has about 180 grams total. That's the one I'm currently looking at now. And then I have another collector who I think he found he has supposedly 3 kilograms, and he's sending me the 20 grams, but there has been some other, I'm not sure if there's another sample that it might have been that he's trying to put it as, but first I need to see it before I can determine if it's similar material. But it's going to be 2 different NWA numbers because there's going to be 2 different masses of it. So, but
Gotcha.
what I could do is on the which is something I explained last week, is you can write that 2 samples are paired, even though they have different NWA numbers. But to do that, you'd either have to do more work like oxygen isotopes and then do like trace element work, or you can just simply write on the form that likely paired with something. But there's going to be multiple NWA numbers. There's not going to just be 1 number. So you should expect a lot of different masses. Yeah.
And just for everyone's knowledge, who may not know, this is the more normal appearance of a shergottite. So obviously when you see the poikilitic next to it, you can definitely tell that you're looking at some strange and unique material.
Yep, the grain size is a lot larger in the poikilitic shergottite than in the regular basaltic or fine grain varieties.
This is a really cool one right here because this is a 1 of 1 stone. It was a single stone, 524 grams. This has been from Amsterdam or Netherlands, wherever he is. Yeah, so it's cool to see that the size of the grains there versus how massive that is. Awesome, thank you. Nice. So what else does anyone have in the mail that they want to show off?
Well, I finally got some Murchison, some small pieces off of eBay.
Nice. Now,
Yeah.
Christian, you're a very new collector, correct?
I am, yeah, definitely.
As in, how new?
I'd say probably started, well, I got my first piece when I was 15, 16, and then I just kind of held off. And last year I started buying pieces just based on what stands out to me, mostly metal meteorites and this year I've been getting into more stony and stony metal meteorites. But yeah, I'm just here to learn, and so far so good. Having fun,
Nice. Well, we're really glad to have you. We have people here of all knowledge levels. So I mean, and the thing is, any question is open for discussion. So feel free to chime in. I see Mike Kelly zooming in on something. You want to unmute yourself?
Trying to. That's a little piece of Slavetic. So that's one of my 5 birthday falls.
We gotta love your birthday falls.
Yeah, Cameron I think is on too. That's a share with him right there.
You guys had the same birthday, Cameron and you?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
And we got a little bit of Kernov coming on the way. That's one of the other 5 from May 26th.
Very nice. Anyone else here collect their birthday falls?
I've only been able to find one.
And what's that?
Tissant.
Oh, jeez.
I can't find any. February 24th, if anybody knows.
Have you been to Ann Black's Empatica
The list,
webpage?
yeah. It's blank.
I'm
for
February
February
24th as well. There's none.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's harsh. I actually have all 4 of my June 2nd birthday falls. So I'm very fortunate to have all 4 of mine. I won't name them all, but I have all 4 of them. Oz, you have anything awesome to show us? Earth to Oz. Well, let me see. Who else has? Kevin, you got to have something to show. Oh, Pat Brown. There we go.
Well, got meteorites in the mail, but not here yet. But recently, a new book, chondrules.
Excellent book.
The number of papers. Yes, it's not brand new. It came out in 2018. But some really interesting discussion of chondrule formation theories, and really nice elaborate discussion of those different theories. Good book. It's in the Cambridge Planetary Science series, and they're pretty much all awesome. And yes, it's expensive as all spit. It was $157.
Very cool.
If you're interested more in figuring out, there's a more recent couple of papers that came out last year on chondrule formation, Pat, if you're interested. So if there's a group called, it's run by Sarah Stewart. I forgot where she's from, but her and her faculty members have done a lot of modeling on chondrule formation with impacts. And there's a lot of really cool stuff that they found that's not present in that book. So the person who has it is Sarah Stewart and colleagues. So just something you might want to check out.
STORT.
It's STEWART.
For those that don't know, Pat is our primitive chondrite studier. He has the microscopes, he has the interest, and he's making thin sections and everything. So kudos, buddy. I'm gonna pour myself a little bit of a throat loosener. Anyone have any show and tell they want to have?
I do.
All right, let me.
Oh, I love that Campo, man.
Yeah, I got a 1 kilogram Campo. There's a pen for just size comparison.
I had that Campo at my house for a couple days.
Nice one.
Wow.
Sure is.
How thick is it?
Oh
yeah.
Pretty heavy.
Yeah, man.
And then I got something else this week, not in the mail, but you might give you a giggle. I found a tremor.
He landed, huh?
He did. Well, it's a long lost cousin, I guess.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's funny.
If you
Yeah.
guys don't know, the SpaceX launch.
Your audio's breaking up. The SpaceX launch.
SpaceX launch, and one of the astronauts had his kid bring, and when they reached 0G, it was kind of flying all around the cabin.
And I actually saw something else that was cool. I'm gonna have to go back and look at other videos to see if I can spot it. But I was watching as they call them the launch pad ninjas, the guys in all black with the little cutouts, who is the last people to put the crew members in and latch the door. There's one crew member for each of the astronauts, and after they're all in place, the last thing they do is the astronaut reaches forward and unvelcros their name tag and sticks it on the instrument panel. So their name tag actually goes into space, and then when they obviously land, they give it back to them. And they said the commentator said it was a tradition since the Apollo days. Has anyone else heard of that or noticed it ever in any launch?
I've watched all the Apollo launches. I've never noticed it because they never had cameras positioned enough to see that kind of thing. But yeah, that's a lot of times folks will ask to take something into space commemoratively, and then there's been huge scandals in Apollo for bringing stuff into space that wasn't supposed to go to space, because a lot of the astronauts felt like if they took this into space, they could resell it when they landed, and it became kind of an insurance policy and stuff. So there was a big scandal about envelopes, signed envelopes, and things like that. They've got a couple people kicked off the program.
Oh, geez, I know of them, the early astronauts pre-signing a bunch of autographs before they ever blasted off as kind of like an insurance policy for their widow in case things went awry. But
yeah, I've got a space flown. I'll show you guys in a couple minutes when I grab it. A space flown envelope that was part of that big scandal thing.
That's cool.
Have you guys heard of the moon trees?
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know what mission, but somebody, they took up a bunch of seeds of several different tree species, went around the moon, came back down, and planted them all over the United States. So.
Yeah, I actually I'm very fortunate enough to, when we went to the IMCA dinner in where this was the University of Arizona. This is one of the NASA bicentennial moon trees.
Cool.
Somehow these items fell into my hand, and I had to make sure that they went home with me. But on the back, I have that's not to be seen yet. I have a whole narrative that I've shown this before as well on the Hangouts, which is it has the whole narrative of what you're talking about. But I just added this new thing, NASA seeds.
Oh, that's cool.
So I actually had the seed pack that went into orbit as well. And the ultra cool thing that will mean absolutely nothing to anyone else but me is Greenwood, South Carolina. If you ever mention, if you live in Greenwood, South Carolina, and anyone asks you where it is, you always give directions from Greenville. So there's very few people who know what Greenwood, South Carolina is, but these seeds were actually sealed in that plant where I used to live. I didn't live in the plant. But now my collection is complete as far as the bicentennial NASA moon trees go.
Nice.
I have one from each of the Arizona plants.
The sad thing about that is they were so willy-nilly about where they planted them. and who they gave the seeds to, that there is no official database of where the trees are planted. So some of them have been lost as far as just they thought it was a normal tree, and now it's nothing but a normal tree. It's really sad that that happened.
Yeah, I guess there wouldn't be a way to tell other than to catalog it, have some sort of marker. And there are several species. I know there's some coastal redwoods out in California, Northern California. There's some, I believe, sycamore, some Scotch pine.
Douglas fir.
Yeah, Douglas fir.
So I have kind of what Topher has from the University of Arizona. This one is from Flagstaff.
Oh, is that the Douglas fir?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's really cool. Let me see that one again, please. That is awesome.
And it's free for the taking if you know where the tree is.
I got to get there.
Because it's if you're up there and you want to find it, let me know. I'll hook you up.
Yeah, there's actually an effort ongoing right now to identify where the trees are and make a record of them. So like on the back of my display, it actually has the URL. So as you go about your day and run into a NASA tree, you can report it. So I checked, and the one at the University of Arizona is already logged. So I can't help the database any further. But like, if Kevin, if you know where that tree is, you should check the log.
It's logged, but it's logged under as a location that's not called the same thing anymore.
Gotcha. Okay, and the location that's listed for the one at the University of Arizona just says something like City Plaza or Downtown Plaza or something. It doesn't necessarily say University of Arizona campus outside the Kepler Space Exploration Building, because that's where it is, you know.
And they have a plaque there and all, you know, identifying it. Hey, here's one of those envelopes that they took from the Apollo 15 scandal. So they took those into space without permission, signed by the astronauts, and got kind of busted for that.
Wow. Who signed that one? Do you know?
It's Dave Scott, Al Worden, and Jim Irwin. Jim Irwin and Dave Scott walked on the moon, and Worden was the command pilot.
I was so busy trying to read the signatures, I didn't even read that they're written there in plain English.
And the cool thing is I got it from Walt Cunningham, who was 7.
Oh.
So this was in his personal collection.
How sweet is that?
That's kind of fun.
That's cool. See, in these hangouts, it doesn't have to necessarily be meteorites. It's ephemera. I guess I gotta rename it.
Yeah, Topher, on the pad closeout technician badge, that was actually not done in Apollo. That started with the space shuttle, and there's a fellow named Scott Manley who lives someplace here in the North Bay,
Fly safe.
Orange County, I think. Yeah, he's big in the space program stuff. But he did a really nice video about the launch, and he talked about the history of the White Room closeout techs and their Velcro badges.
I think that's exactly the video I'm talking about, big guy. I watch Scott Manley all the time, every day. Well, not every day, but when he does a lot of hold on, let me mute that guy. He does a lot of videos on the space rocketry and the science behind it, and every information about every launch. I mean, and he closes out every single one with the same thing. I'm Scott Manley, fly safe. So, but yeah, that's where I saw it from, and he's the one who highlighted the video of them actually reaching, and you see the astronauts, and it's, I mean, maybe it is just because we have cameras in there for the first time, but they take the name badge off and stick it right up there, and they fly safe.
And Manley's videos are really very good. He talks about a wide variety of scientific topics, and I don't think I've ever seen one that I regretted watching. And there's a bunch of them. He's been doing it for years.
Yeah, I really enjoy Scott Manley's channel as well. He does a lot of really good. I mean, a lot of the breakdowns of the actual liftoffs, excuse me, and a lot of the history behind. I mean, it's a lot more than I care for sometimes, but he gets very scientific about the amount of thrust and how everything is engineered behind the engines, and he really gets deep, but it's super interesting. Even if I don't understand it all, the idea is one day to understand more and more. We have a new user here. Super is his name. I just think that's a great name.
Oh, he's gone.
It's Super Rick.
He was here super fast.
And Rick, why don't you, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, I hope. Why don't you introduce yourself? We don't know you yet.
I go by Super Rick. Fred knows me. I've hunted meteorites with him before. I'm trying to get him into Florida to do some treasure hunting with me. I'm out in Las Vegas right now again, so looking to get out and hunt for some meteorites again.
That is
hey, Rick, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, Fred, how you doing?
Good.
Fred's a super collector and he sells, so good guy.
Did you used to live up in Canada then?
No, he came down to hunt for some meteorites in Gold Basin with us one time. So we out there and showed them around.
Well,
That was the first time actually that I'd been meteorite hunting, and Rick and two other guys took me out to Gold Basin for the first time. So he's one of the instigators that got me into this mess.
Yeah, the last guy I took out found a meteorite in 5 minutes time from Florida.
I want to go with you. I'll buy
It's
dinner.
It's all about knowing the location and where we found them before.
We need a Gold Basin trip.
Yeah, we definitely need to schedule a trip. I'm thinking like a Gold Basin, Franconia, Holbrook after a rain or something like that.
I gave somebody some information one time about Franconia, and the next thing I knew, the whole world came in there. My buddies found 200 meteorites in one weekend.
Wow. I am more of a buyer and seller and appreciator than a hunter. I've only been on 5 hunts and I found 2, but and both of them were under a gram. So
I primarily cold hunt, so that can go on for years without finding anything.
yeah, they say the best meteorite hunter can go a decade between finds.
Well, it is a case that I can take people, friends that want to hunt for them. I know some locations. I can almost guarantee that they'll find something.
Well, we need to get some action going in Arizona then. That's for sure.
Arizona and Nevada.
I have something that I can show off if no one has anything else right now. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I want to show something that kind of makes meteorites really hard. I don't know if I need to take these out of the cases or not. I hope not. But let me put this camera on. Well, first off, let me show something that was a big topic of discussion online lately. When I was in Tucson for the Tucson show, I found I'm the guy who digs at the bottom, empties out every single rock in a bin, and I want to see everything that's in there. And I get to the bottom and I find this. Really not magnetic. Here's my my rare earth magnet that I use to test everything, and it doesn't stick at all. I cut it open and I'm like, wow, that kind of looks like lunar. There is dark lunar that looks really similar to this, but my eye is not trained enough, and this happens to be a terrestrial sample. The dead giveaway is the hand colors, the lack of white plagioclase, as well as the total lack of any metal. So that's a lesson I learned this week. I really honestly had hoped that this 11-gram one was lunar. So that was my rockhound moment of the week, when someone I trust very greatly, Craig Zlyman, basically referred to me as a rockhound, and I was like, okay, that's enough. So that's one. And the thing about that is, Earth and the moon look very similar. So they can look extremely similar. But I want to show you now what is some Imilac. This is a pallasite from Chile. And I'm going to show you a normal slice of it, and then I'm going to show you an anomalous slice. So,
Ooh, that's pretty.
yeah, this is gorgeous stuff. So this is just over 25 grams of Imilac. It's been acid etched. It's totally translucent and beautiful. But this is your, I hate to say standard run of the mill, but this is what Imilac looks like. If you show this to someone who's a meteorite guy, and this side's polished, it just absolute beautiful shine. But if you ask anyone what Imilac looks like, this is what you're looking for. However, just like everything, there's exceptions to the rules. When I was in Tucson, I was talking with one of my Russian friends, Sergey, and he says he came across one Imilac stone for cutting, and it was, when he cut into it, it was extremely anomalous. Wow, anomalous. This is what it looks like. You can see that it totally does not have the normal Imilac pattern on it.
I saw that. It's beautiful. I love it.
And
it looks almost broken up.
There's
a lot of small crystals.
It is like, it is 100% solid, guys. It's ridiculous. It is the most unique thing I've ever held in my hands in my life. Look at it. That is not a normal Imilac. I would love to know what went on to cause that.
It's beautiful.
But the thing is, they all look pretty much identical from the outside. So what I wanted to show you is a normal Imilac, an anomalous Imilac, and then an individual that has not been cut. Let me try with one.
What I'm interested in.
So this, what you're seeing, the dark spots are the fusion crust. Obviously, you're seeing a bunch of, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Oh, come on. I wish it would focus already. There we go. God, look at all the, but yeah, I would love to know what causes them to form so differently. But that is a little look at some Imilac. All right. All right. My throat is dry. Anyone else? Feel free to take over.
I got a question about Newman lines. So can anybody shed some light? I think this is showing Newman lines. This is from Farmer, but I'm not 100%, and it's a terrible camera, sorry.
Newman lines are like really, really fine, right? So it'd be kind of hard to pick up on, I think on Zoom.
Okay, so this has, you know, this is etched and polished, and it's got kind of a really wide spacing.
Yeah, it really wide banding.
Yeah. So
Unless
I've
Daniel or
assumed
Pat
it,
have.
but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
Anybody any particular expertise on that or anything?
No, I don't for sure.
I'll have to do some research on that for sure.
Well, while I just showed you some differences in Imilac pallasite, I'll show you some differences in two pieces of Brahin pallasite from Belarus. This was first discovered in 1810, and hold on, oh, it's so big I need to zoom back. Love that. It's still too big. Hold on. But you can see the pattern in it. Now, like right there. Let me take it. You can see that right there. Now I have another slice that looks a lot different, and this is still the same meteorite. So let me put this back up here. So this is still Brahin, pallasite from Belarus. Just an absolute gorgeous, gorgeous meteorite. Whether it's a fine grain one like this or the more usual bigger grains. That's wild though, how like you would not think that these are the same meteorites. At least I would not put them and say, oh yeah, they're definitely obviously the same.
They look completely different.
Yeah. So I'm just pointing out some things that give me pause in my day that make my life hard. Thinking I might have a lunar when I have terrestrial, finding all kinds of anomalous or just different. Look at that. Look at the etch on that. So for those that don't know, the etching is done with either ferric chloride or what's the other one, guys? Help me out.
Nitric acid.
Yep, nitrate. Yep, nitol. And it's washed on. It's the piece is polished to a very, very high grit, and then the acid is washed on it, and that's what gives you. That's what allows you to see the details, like right in these the differences in these lines. All this is brought out through the acid etching process, and then it's neutralized, and that brings out the Widmanstätten pattern, which is different than Newman lines. But if someone can offer more information on that, we're willing to listen.
For the beginners too, get a lot of instruction before you try etching. The nitric acid and alcohol solution that's used is potentially very hazardous.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm putting all the replays to these hangouts on YouTube. So I know most of us in here know about the etching process. Some might not. I can't think of nitol sometimes, so that's why we're all in here working together. And when I put it on YouTube, I want the novices out there, anyone who has no idea what a meteorite is or anything we're talking about, when we say acid etching, I want them to kind of be able to follow along if they have that interest.
Have any lunars?
I do. I have one that doesn't even belong to me right now.
That's nice.
No, yeah, I do layaways. So anything that I happen to sell, and because this is my hangout now, I can actually brand stuff. So anything you purchase from Topherspin Meteorite, no, I do layaway. So if you just if you want a piece and you want to capture it, but you can't afford it right now, payments are always an option. But check out this piece of Lunar that Peter Dickman just got off me. This is NWA 11273, feldspathic lunar breccia with a humongously sexy clast.
That's nice.
This is kind of sad, but I fell so much in love with this lunar because of this clast right here that I literally tracked down the other two pieces that made this a whole lunar. And in the process of buying those and having them shipped, I forgot that I had listed this one for sale, and Peter bought it. So I no longer have the entire three pieces, but let me see. Here they are. So this is it. I'm a man of my word. I put it up for sale. He said, I'll give you money for it, and it's sold. But here's what would have happened if I had taken down my ad. So I'll switch back to this camera and blow your mind. Okay, so we take this tiny little small lunar of his, and we add it onto the lunar that it could have and should have been. I don't know why they cut it like this. They should have cut it down like this. But I own all three pieces. I have the entire thing, and unfortunately the top piece was sold. But this is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous lunar. So when I take a look at what I thought might be dark lunar, I'm looking at these little spots right there and going, God dang, those look really, really similar. And they do. But it's not. Science is the ruler.
If you go on eBay, Matt Stream has a dark lunar that doesn't look, it looks terrestrial to me, but it's a dark lunar and it's actually beautiful.
Yeah, I have a slice of it myself. And look at this little, I don't know what this is in here. I don't know if I can get this. Where it comes together, there's a little dark spot right there, a little inclusion of some sort. But this is what a hunk of the moon looks like for those who have never seen or held a hunk of the moon.
Don't you know everybody wants to find one of those pieces?
Oh my! Everyone wants to find the first U.S. one, but this is the class that I fell in love with right here. Look at that. It's massive.
If you go on some of these other sites, Facebook groups, everybody found a lunar. I gotta laugh all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And the thing about it is, like, there hasn't been a American lunar ever. You know what I mean? It's rare. It's odd. I don't know why. You know, eventually there will be probably, but it's probably so weathered that we wouldn't recognize it unless a really super experienced meteorite specialist had it in his hands to sift through. I don't think we're ever gonna find one that's been super weathered.
Yeah, I find that's one of the weirdest things that I've like contemplated over and over and over again is like, so we've had witnessed Martians, we've had U.S. Martians, we've never had a witnessed lunar, and we've never had a U.S. lunar, which is weird because the moon is closer to us, so you'd think like, I don't know, we'd get lunars before we got Martians.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat you are. Like, why hasn't there been an observed one yet?
We have a Martian there.
Say that again.
A Martian?
Do I have Martians? Oh yeah. Let me just put my lunar back away.
Yeah, don't lose it.
There is a funny story that I can tell. At the we went to the meteorite. I did the Meteorite Mansion down in Tucson during the Tucson show last year, and yeah, I can see Roberto finally. And I wanted to, since I was hosting it, I wanted to have my guests be able to do a meteorite hunt in the backyard, and the backyard was actually the desert, and it went into a national park. So we were out there. Well, near the patio pit, the cement pad, there was a little patch before it went into the desert, and I decided to get 12 meteorites and hide them in there, and to figure out, because I'm going to call them out every single time I tell this story. Pat Brown let me down. No, Pat Brown was awesome, but I asked for his help on helping me put these meteorites down and remembering where they were, and he was busy doing something, so I figured out I'll just put them in a grid. I went out there, put one down, walk 3 feet, put one down, walk 3 feet, put one down, went 3 feet over and did the same thing. So there was 12 of them in a grid, and I told everyone, when you're looking for them, when you find one, let me know where you found it. I'll confirm it. Then you can pick it up and it's yours to keep, or whatever. I said, over here in this special area, I have 2 meteorites that you will not be able to find with your meteorite stick, with your magnet stick. They are not magnetic. One is a eucrite and one is a lunar. And I put them out there. And I try to keep my eye on them. Everyone goes out there, starts hunting. Next thing you know, I think it was Cameron Smith comes up to me and he's like, "Hey dude, look, I found him." And he shows me a handful of like 4 or 5 or 6 meteorites. I'm like, well, where'd you get him at? He goes, "Over there somewhere." Oh no. So put it this way, there's 1 meteorite still waiting to be recovered, and we'll be back there next year, and hopefully we'll find it. But the lunar got lost. No one could find it. I couldn't even find it. It was gone. And we even had a past president of the IMCA out there, Mendy, I hate his last name, Azulio. We had him out there as well with his wife, Crystal. We had everyone looking for this lunar, and we couldn't find it. And we went to bed. The next morning, I'm out there drinking my coffee in the morning, and I'm thinking, what the heck? I'll just walk over there and take a look. I walked right to it, picked it up, there it was, and I got my lunar back. So, and then because of the story involved in it, it was purchased right away by, I believe, Cameron Smith.
So I got a picture of I got a picture of my shergotite that I got in today. It's in the background.
Oh yeah.
That's one side, and then hold on. That's the back side.
Oh, see, now I like that. All the samples I have are just slices.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a massive Mars behind you, man. What is that, like 48 kilos?
Right?
Jeez.
I wish.
Dude, if that was real, just reach back and You're talking about Martians. Well, here's another Martian, and again, I don't own this. This was just spoken for by, I need to ask him if he says his name Guy or Guy. He's in the
It's
UK. Oh, is it Guy or Guy?
It's Guy.
Guy, awesome. I didn't even know you were, when did you join, man?
I've been here the whole time.
Sorry about that. Check this out. I was going to say, I don't even own this anymore. This was just purchased by Guy. This is, well, hold on. We got to drum up some anticipation. We have, okay. It's a likely paired. I have an email from Tony Irving that says it's likely paired. And we're looking at 5.5 grams. It's an individual. I don't know how, whoa, easy.
Oh no.
I don't know how my phone likes it best. There it goes. Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, so it's really weird. People always assume that Mars rocks or Mars samples would be red. That's not true, and I am open for anyone to correct me or add more information. But the red color that we're seeing on Mars is the surface oxidation, not the Mars rocks itself.
There are some reddish crystals in some of the knacklight I've seen.
Okay, but it's not predominantly red.
No. The planet's not red. Definitely not.
No, I mean even knacklight. It has some red inclusions, some red highlights, or something like that. But is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Just like little tiny microcrystals that are red when you look at them under a magnifying glass.
Yeah. So now Guy gets to see his beautiful Martian specimen.
Is it magnetic at all?
No. Let me see if I can. I was hoping this would just dangle. There we go. Nope. See? No magnetism whatsoever. Now on my terrestrial, no magnetism. Up a little. No, very little as well. But yeah, Mars is not magnetic, and the moon is, but very lightly. But this is a nice little individual, and I think it even has an external side to it. But my camera works really well, except for on Zoom. It gets downscaled in quality, I think. But I got this safely in its protector. Coming to you, my man.
Thank you.
There is something new that I'm doing that I think people may like, and I'll just go ahead and ask. Let me take this off. Turn this camera on. I have been giving out, and I will continue to give out COAs with all my items. So this is the COA that accompanies that Martian shergottite, and it has my affiliations on and my promise on the back. But this is a really nice COA, but you're not going to display this with your item. So what I've done, and I'm hoping people find this cool, I've got these printed up. So every item I sell will include a card like this that you can fill out for yourself to display it with the item. And on the back, it does have my affiliations, as well as you can put down any information you want as far as your purchase date, purchase cost, But a display card to go with the sample. Is that something collectors are interested in?
I'd say it's cool because you could use a label maker and fill it out. The only problem is it's signed and it's blank, so somebody could put anything they want. I don't know, maybe.
Well, I didn't want to bore everyone with the fine print, but it says display ID only. This is not a certificate of authenticity. All Topherspins are serialized.
Gotcha.
And here's my COA that's serialized. And I keep a database of everything. So if you lose a COA, all you have to do is tell me what it was, roughly when you bought it, give me a COA number, a weight, anything that I can look in my database and find it, and I can remake a COA for you. I actually heard other dealers were having difficulty with that. So someone bought an expensive piece, they lost their COA. They asked the reseller or the dealer for a COA, and he says, "Yeah, I can make it. Tell me the weight. How much was it?" And kind of like, what? Yeah, it was 4 kilos of Mars. Just go ahead and write your COA for 4 kilos of Mars.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Rick, on a side note, I'll send you some pictures. I'm sitting here with over 30 lunar specimens and 20 or so Martians. I'll ship you off some pictures.
Sounds good, Fred. I appreciate it.
Hey, Topher. You hear me there, brother? Topher.
Topher, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I didn't want my rustling to take over. What's up, Kyle?
Hey, seeing you drop that piece of Mars while ago reminded me here we talked about COAs. I bought a piece of Fukang from you a year ago when we first met. One of the first things I bought, and being as how I had bought that nice piece in Tucson, I was going to pass it on to someone. And as I was taking pictures, it found the floor.
No. Oh my God.
Now, I glued it back together, and at some point I'm gonna, full disclosure, it still looks really good, but it just broke my heart, man. I'll tell you, I was like, holy smokes, man.
Wow. Dude, I love your shirt and I hate the story. Oh my God.
Hey, and I actually didn't wear this for this. I sported this today to my eye appointment.
That's awesome. I noticed Pat earlier was drinking out of a mug. Nice to see the love going around, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You got to talk, Pat.
Yeah, so we were talking about American lunars, and dear friend and I that we used to meteorite hunt together, and he's unfortunately passed. He found this. And we went through the work, and the initial indication is that it might have been lunar. Turns out it's a meteoron. Have you ever seen non-crust? It even wraps around the rock. You ever seen non-crust that looks that good?
That's a heartbreak.
Dude, that is one of the most convincing meteor wrongs I've seen. Like, unbelievable. The kind of crap that's thrown up on Facebook and eBay as meteorites, you could make a mint on that. Don't.
Well, we thought at the time we'd found the first U.S. lunar, but it's still out there.
I got another new addition to show off.
Go for it. You're spotlighted.
One of the newest in the collection.
Oh my God. Wait, it's totally white on the inside. Is that okay? A meteorite? Oh my God, that's eucritic, right? No,
No,
no. Is that Gututo?
that's good too, though.
Yeah, nice. Wow. Dude, isn't it like a super, super friable stone?
Yeah, I mean, I got two pieces. I got one from John Higgins, and I got one from Steve Arnold, who got it from Mike Farmer. And I mean, I haven't had that much crumble off. I had when like I have Biorboli, I think it's. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. It's the one that fell in the ice in Sweden, I think it was.
That's what I'm gonna say from now on.
Biorboli, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Verbal.
yeah, so that's mad that's friable. That material like crumbles if you look at it. This stuff is not so bad.
Because I got a 44-gram piece from Mike Farmer and cut it in half, split it with Oz, the Oz man. And I'll tell you, like, I did not put it on the lap. I did not even think of putting it on the lap. You could literally just lap it away. It would go to nothing.
They're crumbling, yeah.
Yeah. Putting it in just a frame holder, you open up the frame and there's little crumbles next to it. It's really friable stuff.
Yeah, I've had that issue with Biorboli and Caracas.
Caracas, the hammerstone, right?
The crater former.
There you go.
From Peru. Yeah.
I am extremely fortunate with the connections and networking, and just the meteorite community in general is just absolutely so awesome. I love it so much. It honestly blows my mind that first off, we can own meteorites.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, I didn't know you could own meteorites. I didn't know you could own a hunk of Mars, a hunk of the moon. I mean, buy carefully, but know what you're doing, but you can do it. So now it just blows my mind that we can have what we can have. And due to my friends and networking, I'm able to say that I am one of only two private collectors in the world that has both of these samples. Scottsdale and Chandler. I live
those are nice.
I live in Chandler, Arizona, and everyone knows Scottsdale, Arizona as well. The cool thing about these are these are both single stone falls. So not falls, fines. I apologize. So this is a single stone, and I really wish I had the total known weight on it. I guess I don't. I think it's like 300 to 500 grams, maybe less. But so that's a Scottsdale single stone that probably fell 25 miles from my house. And then here is the one that is only in two private collectors' hands, Chandler. It was actually found by Dr. Lawrence Garvey of ASU. So you can't get any better provenance than Dr. Garvey at ASU finding it, classifying it going through Ann Black at Empatica to the purchaser, who Bill Petro, and I cut it together. And he was very nice enough to give me an end cut. So this is, yeah, ASU, Ann Black, Bill Pretlow to me. And that is one of only two private collectors in the world that have this stone. Not flexing, just being proud. But I think it's cool to have them both together. Boom. Single stones.
Total known weight on Scottsdale is 210 grams.
Scottsdale is 210 grams. And it is a beautiful stone too. But the thing is, like, Kyle was talking about super glue. Yeah, I mean, if you ever sell something, you have to disclose that you super glued or reset. But if you look at this, you'll see that mine has a crack in it right here. this entire crack right here, upon being polished, it actually broke and the tip broke off. It sucks because those are two beautiful chondrules that don't even go through to the other side. That's how thin they were. But I don't care. I'll take what I can get, man. Something this rare, you don't turn up your nose at. So those are my two super local finds.
Topher, I have something that somebody may or may not be interested in. It's everybody knows that I'm from Canada, and in order for me to sell Canadian meteorites to the U.S. market, I have to go through an export permit thing. This is what it is. It's 6 pages, total of 87 questions that I have to fill out for Canadian heritage, for a cultural property export permit. In addition to my own information, I have to let them know who bought it, where they live, what their address is, what their telephone number is, the intended date that I'm going to export that meteorite, the reason that I'm going to export the meteorite. I need to know basically what the meteorite is. So in the case of Whitecourts, which I export quite a bit of, I have to put down the GPS location of where each individual meteorite was found. I have to have a photograph of each individual meteorite. I have to say that it is like an iron medium octahedrite. I have to say the total weight of the meteorite and the total value in Canadian dollars. Once I fill all this out, it gets shipped through the Canadian Border Services Agency to their expert, who is Dr. Chris Hurd out of the University of Alberta. Chris Hurd will go through all the information, will make phone contact with me, and finally, if it is found that that specific meteorite has no intrinsic value to the country of Canada, in other words, if they already have several specimens of that meteorite, he'll sign off on it. After he signs off on it, it goes back to Border Services Canada, and they'll put the final stamp on the export permit so that we can sell to the U.S. So it's quite the rigmarole up here.
Wow. Okay, I'm a meteorite dealer, and I would go out of business if I had to do that. I'm just telling you right now. How close are you to the U.S. border?
I'm only half hour from the U.S. border.
Well, okay. Let me ask a different question. I don't want to incriminate you.
You're being recorded. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I know where you're going with this, and I do have methods and ways of getting the stones into the U.S. without going through the export permit. However, a lot of collectors of Canadian meteorites from the U.S. or any international location likes to have the export permit just as a little bit of more provenance.
Yeah, I've got a piece of Buzzard Coulee, and I was really happy when I got the export permit along with the meteorite. It adds to like the provenance. You know exactly when it came into the country. You know it came in legally. So it definitely adds to like the value or the appeal of the meteorite to have the export paperwork.
I 100% agree, and all the Whitecourts I got from Fred have the GPS coordinates on them as well. Fred, I'm going to turn it back to you for a second, but can you clarify, does that apply to every meteorite you sell going out of your country of Canada, or does that only apply to Canadian meteorites?
Only Canadian meteorites, Topher. So your Springwaters, Brudenham, Tagus Lakes, Buzzards, Whitecourts, shell burns, Wellens, any Canadian meteorite.
Gotcha. Okay, that's cool because I think I don't want to get on my soapbox here, but I would hate to do that, but I think it's a responsible thing to do for the government to understand what natural resources are leaving the country. It's basically the Wild West out in Africa, and if you can find it, dig it up, sell it, and get it out of the continent, you can do it. My problem with that, and I've gotten on this soapbox a few times, so I apologize for those that have heard this rant before, but there are only so many, let's use Martians as an example. There's only so many Martian meteorites that have fallen on this planet. We are digging them out and collecting them, classifying, cutting, and selling them at a rate thousands of times faster than the Earth is collecting them. Simple math tells you you're gonna run at a tipping point where there's no reserves left, and all you have to do is wait for the next Martian meteorite to fall. And my problem, and again, I'm a dealer. I like to buy things low. I'm going against what I'm preaching here. I don't mind keeping prices up and buying high. These are rare antiquities of the universe. They're more, I mean, the average meteorite is more rare than a diamond. So a Martian meteorite is super special. And I just hate to think that we are burning through the Earth's reserve of Martian meteorites to make a few dollars a gram when the overarching importance and scientific importance and cosmic importance may be overlooked. There, that's it. I'm done.
Well, there's another side to that argument, Topher, and that is that in the absence of the collector community and in the absence of the dealer community for meteorites, many of those meteorites would still be sitting out there waiting for the cattle or the camels or whatever else to trample them and for them to deteriorate into nothing. So we as collectors, and through the process of classification, are bringing the meteorites to science. So I don't think there's a solid argument to say that we're somehow frivolously wasting these valuable astromaterials.
Okay. I value your opinion as much as mine. Thank you, sir.
Another reason to go to Mars and collect many specimens.
There it is.
I know I'm not the only one. When you're watching a Martian documentary, God, I want to just reach through this screen and grab as many kilos as I can.
Also, Topher, to get back on what you said, that's sort of the importance of the type specimen that you leave at a university collection, so that stays there. It can always have research done upon it, let's say 50 years in the future, so that sort of prevents all the material from getting sold to private collectors.
Good point. Yeah, like I said, I don't get on many soapboxes. I'm not a political guy. I'm not a religious guy. I really, but I'm not a tree hugger. My thing is, I think these things are so valuable. I hate to see them talked about in dollar terms, although that's the business we're in. It's not old hat, or the novelty is not lost on me. Every time I'm holding a piece of the moon or Mars or 4 billion year old cosmic debris, I'm blown away every second I'm holding it.
Got to remember, it's being preserved if it's in a private collection or it's in a university. Otherwise, like it was brought up before, it'd just be laying out there. Nobody would see it.
Well, I will amend my point of view.
Hey, Fred, if an American bought a Whitecourt from you
Yes.
and hit the dollars today, how long before it's in their hands with all that process?
Well, what I do is, I should have clarified, I don't need to fill out an individual export permit for each individual stone. So I have sold, for instance, several kilos of Whitecourt meteorite. And when I fill out the form, I put down the total weight and the individual numbers. So if I say that here's an example here that I have 45 Whitecourt meteorites. The total was 1,725 grams. I had to take a photograph, a group photograph of the meteorites, and put down the total value of that package and send it through. So I already have export permits already prepared on a few kilos of Whitecourt right now, and Tagish Lake, not kilos of Tagish Lake, but quite a few an export permit for Tagish Lake meteorites. So when I sell one, you'll get a copy of the export permit, but it may say on it that there were 45 Whitecourt meteorites in that group. And what you also won't get is the total value is not on the copy that you get. You get the final page that has all the sign-offs, but that way you'd know how much I value it at and how much I sell it at and things like that. So
you do your total inventory of a particular meteorite one time, and then after that you're good to ship.
Yeah.
Do you have to list the coordinates of each piece?
The coordinates of each piece, basically, I do in the case of Whitecourt. Dr. Chris Hurd, who is in charge of doing all the research in that area, basically he has a database at University of Alberta. He wants the GPS coordinates sent to him so that he can add them to the database, but it's not necessarily a requirement of the actual export permit. It's the same as buzzards. We try to do GPS locations on those, but in an example, I bought a whole bunch of buzzards down in Tucson this year. So I brought them back to Canada, but for me to sell them now, I have to apply for, because I don't have any buzzard export permits, because I had some several years ago, but I have no idea where they are right now. So buzzards that I bought in Tucson, took back to Canada, in order for me to sell them back to the US, I have to get the export permits. It's a fairly quick process, like within a month. But so if you were to buy a Whitecourt from me today, then the copy of the export permit goes right with that tomorrow from the post office.
And here's a sample of a Whitecourt. This is my personal collection item here. It probably pales in comparison to something that Fred would have, but for an Arizona, not a Canadian hoser, this is pretty good.
As a matter of fact, I'm negotiating, and tomorrow morning, hopefully, we're picking up a 500-gram Whitecourt.
Wow.
Is that considered an individual, or is that shrapnel?
They're all shrapnel. So as far as individual, there were no individuals. Upon impact, it just exploded. So it's just like shrapnel from a cannonball, basically.
I heard one thing that I know you're not supposed to believe everything you read on the internet, according to Abraham Lincoln. I heard, and I cannot believe this. I'm glad Christian liked that one. At least I got someone. Someone was trying to say that the hexagonal regmaglyphs that you see on a Socotra are caused by the impacts with the trees, not the wind. Has anyone heard that kind of crap before? All right, I'm getting 8 heads going like this. So, okay. All right, I've never in my life heard of that before, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. I've heard of Socotra lens being impacted into a tree, and I would love to have one of those, but I never heard of the tree causing the hexagonal or hexagonal pattern.
I use some common sense.
Yeah, I don't see very
Material
many.
science.
Well, speaking of that, Topher,
Material science, it can't be the tree.
when I first got back into meteorite collecting, the image was very bad, and it was really, they had oiled it, it was dark, and for $45, it was a rock, not a meteorite, but a rock, was grown into this piece of burl that was in this tree. But it looks pretty good set in my office, but not meteorite.
So we turn that around 360 for us.
You get it here with the camera. You can kind of see the burl, but this camera stinks in this lighting.
Mm-hmm. But it is completely 360 degrees surrounded by wood.
Yeah, and you can't pull it out.
That is crazy.
So I think it was 40 or $45. You know, I was like, hey, it's cool enough, even what.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of hitting a tree, I just thought I'd show you. Don't know
Yeah,
how.
I did wood turning. I did wood turning for years and years, and one of the cool things about wood turning is that you can use found wood. You don't need to go to the lumber store and buy boards or what have you. And in collecting found wood, there's some sort of magnetic attraction between the chainsaw blade and nails and rocks inside the wood.
In my real life, I sell computer technology for a living, and one of my clients one time was rushed to the hospital because he was chopping wood, and he put the wedge in and hit it with a sledgehammer, and the sledgehammer shattered, and a piece of metal went right in his leg and actually got impacted into his leg. Totally unrelated story, but yeah. I have one cool thing to show off. This is, again, in my personal collection. It's not very attractive, and it really doesn't do much for you until you realize it is the Karoonda actual carbonaceous name type for the CK class. So in meteorites, under chondrites, you can have carbonaceous chondrites, and this happens to be a carbonaceous chondrite. When this was first, this was a fall, right? I believe this was a fall. When this was found for the first time, the scientists had never seen the chemistry of this meteorite before, so much that it actually became its own class. So you have the carbonaceous and Karoonda where it fell, making the CK class. So every time you hear of a meteorite that's a CK5 or CK whatever, it's named after this Karoonda fall that fell in, I believe, 1930. And within 8 years, this sample was in the Museum of University of Melbourne. I mean, so the provenance to go with it in my little half-gram piece, and that's my, I guess, type specimen sample, I guess, or name.
What? I'm watching this.
Or name specimen. So
type fall.
type. There you go. That's the type fall. Thank you. Yeah. So it was really hard to display this tiny little piece with all this documentation. But as you can see, and we discussed earlier, the provenance is as important as the meteorite. I mean, just this little piece of meteorite is pretty much not important unless you can prove what it is and where it came from and why it's scientifically important. So that's one of the newest things that I've added to my collection. And it's a huge frame. But so that's kind of new. Fred, do you have a Whitecourt that you can show us at all?
They're all packed up right now. But like I said, I am picking up a 500 grammer tomorrow morning, and so for next week I'll have a nice one to show you.
Absolutely, I love that. Keep them in suspense. The king of marketing. Well,
I do have something cool though.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we were talking about astronauts earlier and things. This is Colonel Chris Hatfield, our Canadian astronaut who was up in the space station in February 2013. And everybody knows that's when the Chelyabinsk meteor crashed into the town in Russia. And he was up in the space station at the time. And I had a chance to get together with him and present him with some small pieces of Chelyabinsk. He's mentioned it in his books because it did come down while he was up in the space station, but he had never seen a piece. So that was kind of cool. His parents only live about 20 minutes from where I live.
See, this is why I thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much.
He's the guy that sang Major Tom, isn't it?
Yes. Yep. He's the guy that was up in there with his guitar all the time, singing songs, and he really interacting with the public. Yeah.
That is super spectacular. I mean, Chelyabinsk is one of my favorite falls to begin with. Then you tie it in with you're donating it to an astronaut who is in space when it actually happened, and that's good for you, man. Kudos. I love that.
He also has the absolute coolest autograph you've ever seen.
Yes, he does. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, man.
Cool autograph right there.
Yeah.
He signs really cool.
Nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. Down to earth, really nice guy.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because Pat Brown got to meet one of his NASA geology idols. Not idol, but he's a fanboy. I'm going to go ahead and say he's a fanboy. When we were in, I think it was Albuquerque. Why don't you tell a story? You actually got to, he was the last person on the moon and the first geologist ever?
Harrison Schmitt.
Yeah, Harrison Schmitt. He was not the last person to walk on the moon. He was on the mission with Cernan. Cernan was the commander, so Cernan was the last one back into the capsule. But Dr. Schmitt was there at the University of New Mexico, Albuquerque, 75th anniversary of the Institute of Meteoritics there. And they had a one-day open house and a few talks, not super technical, but a few talks. And Dr. Schmitt gave one of those talks, and I got to go up afterwards and talk to him. And he literally is one of my heroes. I'm an old guy. I lived through all of the Apollo missions, and his was so very significant because we had promised to put a scientist on the moon. And up until 17, this is when they canceled Apollo 18, 19, and 20. 17 was the last mission. So there were 10 moonwalkers up to that point, and we hadn't made good on our promise to put a scientist on the moon. And so he was the one who won the competition, and he walked on the moon. And so I, at the end of the first day, and I was telling him that it was really cool to get to meet one of my heroes. And I said, I have 2 pictures, not one, but 2 pictures of you in my hallway picking up moon rocks off of the moon. And so Dr. Harrison Schmitt is famous for not wanting to sign things because he knows he's creating $100 bills or $200 bills or what have you. But I decided to be brave. I had brought along a copy of his book, and the second day, which there was another set of talks, much more technical, and his talk was really quite technical about core samples and layers of ejecta from various impacts in those core samples. And there's one of those core samples that had not been opened yet and is in the process of being opened imminently to be studied with some more new technology and some non-invasive CAT scan sort of technology. And so I sat next to Dr. Schmitt at one of the last papers, and I kind of sheepishly said, 1,000 apologies for asking me to sign, but would you sign my book? And he just grinned and read the book and out his pen and says, "What's your name?" And he wrote me a nice, where is it? And it's funny because I have 2 copies of this book, and one he signed and another one's well, that's the copy of the book that he didn't sign, or that here it is. So there's his signature.
Wow.
And it's funny because one of our friends,
you should have kept the note. You should have kept the note and put it in the book.
Here it is.
So Mendy, I was sitting there next to Dr. Schmitt, and he walks by and discreetly hands me this note, and it says, "Pat, he will not sign anything. You can try, but he gets upset." And the funny thing was, by the time when Mendy gave this to me, my book had already been signed. So I'm good friends with Mendy, so I had to go and rub it in a little bit.
Oh, that's awesome. I did not know that you saved the note. You showed that note to me, but I had no idea that you saved it. That is so classic, dude. That's classic.
Yeah.
There's a great story too, and I think it was either Harrison Schmitt or Dave Scott that when they were out, collecting samples, they saw a patch of rock and it was orange, and they're like, "Oh my God, like orange rock on the moon! What the hell is this?" And they realized that it was a reflection of the gold foil of the lunar lander onto the. So they were reporting.
Well,
we found this amazing collection of rocks, and it was a reflection from the sun off of the lander onto the rocks.
That's crazy.
But there was one area where they did find orange soil, and they collected it and brought it back, and they were little hollow spheroids of glass that caused an optical illusion. And it was Scott that found it, and Harrison Schmitt is yelling to him, "Don't touch it! Don't touch it! I want to see it!"
Leave it to the scientists. Yeah.
The other, so I live by myself in a big house, and so there's lots of places to hang pictures. And so I printed up a bunch of the NASA photos because we, as the taxpayers, paid for all of that work, and so all those photos are in the public domain. And one of them, I think it's on 16, they were hot dogging in the lunar rover, and they actually ripped one of the fenders off.
Yep.
And it was shooting this rooster tail of this ultra fine dust up in the air and messing with their ability to navigate and so forth. And so I have a picture, actually in the master bathroom, that they took the cover off of one of the mission documents, wrapped it in plastic, and clamped it onto what was left of the fender with these 2 special clamps that were for clamping something on another part of the rover, but that was their engineering fix to ripping the fender off of the rover.
I heard rumor that they actually used duct tape as well to fix that on there.
Yes, yeah. In fact, I'll grab the photo, but yeah, it was not as dramatic as the Apollo 13. You know, use this rectangular canister and the round hole in the LEM, but it was on the same order and used a lot of the same materials actually.
Yeah, because when they obviously went to space, they had to use what they had, and that's kind of like I used to be a ice hockey goaltender for 17 years, so I had hockey tape all over my house, and the rule of thumb was if you can't super glue it, duct tape it, or hockey tape it, man, that thing is broken. So that's what the NASA scientists, I guess, learned best is, hey, when I guess they sent a roll of duct tape up. I don't know if the duct tape was like stuck on walls that they peeled it off, or if they had a roll up there that was just floating around.
When they do
it's one of the standard things.
Sorry. When they do go back to the moon in 2024, I wonder how long it'll take to find the first Earth meteorite.
Say that again?
I wonder how long it'll take them to find the first Earth meteorite on the moon.
Oh yeah, a terrestrial sample on the moon. Because there's been ejecta before.
Yeah, they found one tiny little piece, I think. But
during the early bombardment, yeah, the inner solar system was a very busy place for collisions, and there is one rock that has been found on Earth, and Daniel, you might be able to tell us more, but there's one rock that was found on the Earth that obviously had fusion crust, and it fell along the Earth terrestrial fractionation line for oxygen isotope. And there's some people arguing that that's an earthite. Of course, we do know that button flange tektites are Earth material that was ejected beyond the atmosphere and then re-entered.
Now, yeah, go ahead and show that one.
So here's the repair on the Lunar rover, and you can see the cover of the mission manual in a plastic bag, the duct tape, and then two of these specialized clamps to hold it on. The fender was a sort of a fiberglass affair and very, very thin.
What's ultra cool about that is with the exact way you were holding it, you can see when that dark spot, you could see your microscopes. It was just killer. Just
over there.
I mean, nerd overload. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Microscope lab.
Yeah. I just thought it was fantastic that in the negative black area that we weren't looking at the patch job. All you see is this beautiful microscope. I have a challenge for people. This is a fall, not a find. Who can name it? If you notice up here by my finger,
Panu.
Yeah. Who said that? Kevin?
It's Mike.
Oh, Mike. Mike Kelly, Panu. So look at this up here. Let me get my pointer. If you notice up here, there's an armored chondrule. That's a chondrule that has complete metal surrounding it, armoring it, and fortifying it is kind of the terminology we use. But Panu is known for its armored chondrules. Right there, you see 3 of them. Cool. So I just absolutely love this fall. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous stone. So I have at least.
It dropped a lot of material.
Say it again.
There's also it dropped a lot of material. There was many kilograms, and there were actually 2 lithologies. There's a light lithology and a dark lithology.
again, on this one, you have another armored chondrule.
Chondrule City.
Yeah, it is just an absolute gorgeous meteorite. And the thing that's odd about this is you're never really going to find one that has awesome crust, because Panu is actually known for the lack of crust. So you'll notice that there's no real dark crust line on it, but it is just an absolute gorgeous meteorite. Now, yeah, I have it listed as armored chondrules. It's it actually fell at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So imagine being able to see that. Now, it's an L3, so we're talking a primitive chondrule, primitive chondrite. But that's Panu. Yeah, sweetness. Does anyone else have something to show off for us? Well, I have gone through my pile of stuff. Well, I think
I got a little piece of carbonaceous.
Super Rick has a thing.
I don't know if you can see it. It's so small. I found out at Sutter Falls.
That's a personal find of Sutter Falls?
Yes. We chased it when it came in. Missed a school teacher find as I was walking across the park, and there was a lawnmower coming down. A guy was cutting the grass, and walked around in back of it. And about an hour later, we got a phone call, and the school teacher found the nice Sutter Falls that she eventually sold. But that was a circus over there because they had people from all over the world coming in there in the news media.
This is actually Sutter's Mill, right?
Sutter Mills, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get old.
Yeah. Sutter's Mill is a famous place in California, and that it's where gold was first found in 1849, or 1848, actually.
And they had all the news media there, and it was a zoo. We got there first thing in the morning, and it was all private property. So it was something else.
That's amazing. And that's a carbonaceous fall. So
that's a carbonaceous.
Yeah, that represents what, like less than 1% of all meteorite falls, something like that. Yeah.
The only other one in the continental United States was Sunny Clary's find at the time, up into 2012.
Wow.
And that was found
one more. I've got one more trick that I learned for cutting, especially when you're cutting multiple meteorites. You know, we're challenged with getting the water out of the things if you cut in water.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you're cutting multiple different meteorites, you need to keep track of each one. And so these are just cookie trays, sheet cookie trays that will fit in the little toaster oven that I'm using for drying things out. And this one, these are stainless steel and came from Japan, but a Sharpie writes on them really nicely, and so you can make your notes on the tray, and everything stays together. This meteorite is a Sahara 2500 that I got at Tucson this last year. Whole bunch of cracks in this thing, and I had it face down in this tray, and I had it in the oven for roughly an hour, and I thought, well, how's it doing? And I kind of look at the slices, and they look okay. I picked up this piece. There's a little puddle underneath it on the stainless steel tray. So especially if you've got material with very many cracks, it really will take up water. And so I've not pulled the trigger on it yet, but I'm going to get a commercial stainless steel food dehydrator. One of the Russian guys who does a lot of wire saw cutting uses one of these 8 or 10 tray food dehydrators, and they have a digital thermometer, thermostat setting, and they have a timer that will go for however many hours you want, up to 12 or 24 hours, something like that. So just kind of
that's
a
a
useful
cool
trick.
that's a cool automated way of doing the drying of them, because after I cut meteorites, if it's an important meteorite, I'll throw it in a isopropyl alcohol high percentage bath for 24 hours. That alcohol seeps in and forces all the oxygen and water out. Then I have a toaster oven, convection toaster oven, that I throw it in. Pat, about 250, 275 degrees. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I did some research on temperatures, and especially if you're cutting primitive chondrites and carbonaceous chondrites, you want to keep the temperatures fairly low, because there are potentially volatiles in those between the black inclusions in type 3s and the carbonaceous chondrite material itself. So I was trying to keep things 170 degrees or so, relatively cool. But the other advantage of these food dehydrators is they have a great big fan in the back of them, and so they really circulate air around a lot. So 170 is enough, and the airflow will. And now you leave it in there for hours and hours. I did some looking in the literature and didn't really find very much for temperatures. A lot of people were using temperatures up to 250 or even higher. But I opted for a temperature that I figured they would probably see laying on the ground in the sun in the Sahara.
Interesting concept.
Are you going to try and make thin sections out of these?
I will at some point. Right now I'm really trying to groove with the saws. I've got 2 new saws, a Highland Park 12-inch and a Covington 10-inch, and I need to rearrange my workshop so I have a lot more bench space. But I've got 3 of the Buehler laps, 8-inch flat laps with water and drain built into them. I have a Buehler Petrothin machine, and I've been collecting jigs and fixtures and so forth. So at some point in the not very distant future, quite possibly next winter, I will get more involved in that.
Yeah. Thin sectioning.
I have made a few, but they're terrible.
Yeah, I actually work in a geology department here in Scotland.
Yes.
I run an electron microprobe, and I also make my own thin sections. So one of
Cool.
these nights, I mean, it's 3:30 in the morning here. I might do a live session from our department and actually make a thin section once we get back.
I would love.
Yes.
I would love to see that. Absolutely.
Which might be quite a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
We're actually getting a new microprobe in January, which is going to be nice.
Nice.
Donald,
you want to ship the old one to me?
Well, I was really interested in Daniel's talk the other week, because I really fancy having a go at classifying one of my own samples, which would be quite
nice.
I didn't know that you can classify your own meteorites as long as you have another scientist sign off on your work. Then yeah, but that's amazing.
Maybe
Donald,
I have to keep in touch with Daniel.
Yeah, I would appreciate, Donald, if you would connect with me, and I don't care what time of day it is here in the United States, whenever it's convenient for you. I can always record it for the U.S. to watch later. But if you have any expertise or anything you want to share with us as far as manufacturing a thin section, you have my full attention.
Sure. Obviously not now, because we're still under lockdown here. We can't get back into the department. So we're probably talking about the next couple of months before we can actually even get back into the buildings.
Okay.
Depending on how the coronavirus goes.
You're fighting that over there too?
Yeah. We're doing particularly badly here in the UK, though. We're not dealing very well with this.
Do they have the whole country shut down?
Well, Scotland's got it's got its own government, and we're treating it slightly more cautiously than England is. England's opening up a bit more than we are, but we're still, our government's being a lot more cautious, which I think they're sensible, being cautious.
Yeah. It's good to have an open border with the UK, but you need to have a kind of lockdown a little bit when it comes to viruses.
Yeah. I think we were a bit too late in actually locking down, which has caused a few problems.
They just started opening up Las Vegas.
Uh-huh.
They opened up the casinos on the 4th. They're opening up some more on the 17th. So people are starting to come back to Vegas again.
And I'm sure some of them will be visiting the hospital within 2 weeks of that. So,
Say they're gambling more than money.
there you have it. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's something
go for it.
Here's something I found. Let's see if I can get a picture of it here. Oh. This is hard to do with this camera on the computer. This stone I found in 2 days, and it is there's one piece of it, 2 pieces of it.
No way.
Puzzle.
3 pieces of it. 4 pieces of it.
Wow.
And
how
it
far
all fits.
apart were they?
They were pretty close in the same area, and there's still a couple pieces missing of it. And I might get back over there if we get a couple cool days. But,
wow.
And I didn't have my GPS with me that day. And I just took range markers to find it again. So kind of interesting.
Yeah, I love puzzle pieces. They just appeal to me so much. And the hard thing is, sometimes a puzzle piece exists because of the terrestrial weathering over 10, 20, whatever thousands of years of thawing and freezing and expanding into heat. Natural cracks get exploited, the rock cracks and pops, and you have a piece that comes off. And now it's technically a puzzle. But the real definition of a puzzle piece, a puzzle meteorite, is one like that actually has exploded or detonated and fragmented in its dark flight, or after it hits the ground and tumbles into a few pieces. So I'm super excited about puzzle pieces. I like them.
Well, it had some nice fusion crust on it. This back up here.
It's also a very nice size.
Yeah, it's got to be like 400 grams. More.
I never even weighed it.
Unlike Pat with his 100.05. I'm going to give you a hard time about that every time, because I would do the same damn thing. If I found a meteorite that was 99.99 grams, I would call it under 100. If I found one like Pat that was 100.05 grams, whatever, it would be over 100 grams. Awesome. Well, hey guys, I'm really, really, really thankful for everyone joining us today. I try to make these or invite an environment that allows these to be educational, entertaining, free form, free flowing. Like there's really no rules. We talked about a lot of different things today. I'm really happy he's not here right now, but I'm really glad that Fred was able to be here. Fred McPherson from Canada, to tell us about some of the rules and regulations about exporting meteorites, Canadian meteorites from Canada. We also had Daniel Sheikh along from geosciences, geochemistry sciences student, a PhD from Florida State University, giving us some information earlier. all the way down to brand new collectors like Christian. Thank you, sir. We also have, you know, beautiful people like Kevin and Kyle on board, and Mike Kelly as well. Wish we heard a little more from Cameron because he's a hell of a guy, but we'll get him to retell a story or something, a Tucson event or something. We'll get him on camera soon. But really appreciate everyone joining us. I had a blast hanging out. Be thinking about things you want to brag and show off and have as topics of conversation next week. If you know of anyone that you'd like to have as a special guest, or if you'd like to be a special guest and talk about a particular subject you have information or knowledge about, or if you have an experience, hunting experience, or really anything, we'd love to have you as a featured speaker for 1 week. Donald, we may take you up on your offer for thin sectioning at 3 a.m. U.S. time. Everyone, thanks so much for your attendance. I'll put this on my YouTube channel, and I do appreciate everyone's time. I had a blast.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thanks all.
Cheers.
Well, good night, Mike Kelly, Cameron, Topher.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Bye.